Hello and welcome back to the worst Warmachine channel on the internet. I'm Malorian and this will be another Warmachine battle report. We are now on to the third and last game of the Steamroller I went to on the weekend. So far I'm 2-0, so looking pretty good, And in this one here, once again, I'm going to be using my good old Magnus list, the good old offensive Magnus2 in Irregulars with a Blockader, 2 Toros, Anastasia, a Tinker that also is going to have Malvin and Mayhem, J.A.I.M.s, Acosta, Widget, Asphyxious the Sanctified, Gaspy running a Stalker, and it's all about winning that first turn with the +1 to go first and a reroll, rushing up, getting the alpha, locking down scenario, getting a second alpha, whatever you need, super fast and aggressive, and maybe even oppressive. So there you go. That's going to be my list, tried and true, going through this whole thing. And then so my opponent then is going to be another local here, another longtime player, Garnett, and his Grymkin. Now, for this one here, he is going to be running a Wanderer list that has 2 Cage Ragers, a Clockatrice, 4 Crabbits, a Rattler, 2 Skin and Moans, a Baron Licktongue, a Glimmer Imp, Gremlin Swarm, Catalina Rose, and a Death Knell. Now, when it comes to this list here, I'm not really sure what it's supposed to do, and I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm saying that because I do not play against Grymkin that often, and back when I did, it was Dreamer every single time. I think 98% of my games were against Dreamer, and I did play the odd game against Wanderer, but it's been almost nothing. If anything, this would be my third game, maybe my second game against Wanderer, so I'm not really sure what the plan is here. However, I was hearing from his other games that he was setting up Wanderer assassinations. So I'm going to have to be very careful with that, trying not to get myself killed. But luckily, this looks like a list that falls into what Magnus wants, which is something that wants to stay tight together. And so I can feed on it all and then just get right in there and try to finish it off. So looking at the board here, we have that obstruction, the little crate to the left. We have some windswept forest in the center. So that's the one where you lose flying if you're trying to go through it. We have the trench on my side here, some acid by my flag. He has some water up there by his zone on the right. Back there he has a nice little wall and then some rubble in the middle. So for this one here, my main plan, and again, like all games, I won the roll to go first. And really, my plan on this type of a scenario and what I'm up against is I think this is a straight up go for it, a scenario type of game plan. And the reason why I have that is because after my initial turn, you know, the Toro will pass the obstruction on the left. All the rest of my forces will be up, down in the middle there. And then really, I should be in a spot on my turn 2 that I am completely locking him down. I'm able to start scoring my flag over and over again, destroying his objective, and hopefully being a spot that I have the attrition advantage that he can't really fight back either. So that's going to be the plan. The one Gremlin Swarm will be a problem. I did take the magical objective to help with that on the left side, and then my Gaspy, of course, has magical weapons for on the right side. So hopefully that takes that counterplay away from it. But yeah, it's a plain simple, let's get up there, punch things, and really be looking towards scenario. So on my first turn, that's what I do. I cast Escort to make my battle group faster. I put Bullet Dodger onto Asphyxious to give it extra defense and dodge. And then, yeah, everything is running up as fast as possible. Malvin and Mayhem going for flight and +2 speed, really rushing up there. And yeah, even the Stalker getting pretty aggressive as well. The Stalker and also J.A.I.M.s are going to be playing a very important role in this game because, of course, one of the Arcana he has is the sacrifice one. That's the one everybody takes. If I kill something, he can heal everything else up. So having 2 sources of Grievous, really important, just to make sure I don't get caught with that. Otherwise, yeah, I kind of feel I'm in a pretty good spot here. I'm hoping that he doesn't put too much by the left flag or whatever he does. Hopefully my Toro and Malvin and Mayhem can take care of it. And yeah, looking forward to see what he does. So on his turn, he really stays very close here together. I should mention that there is one proxy here, which is the Trapperkin on the left is actually the Glimmer Imp. I believe he just forgot to pack the right model. It doesn't really matter. It's a little solo that's going to try and get that flag or try and contest it. But what I'm seeing here is everything is staying in the range for Magnus. I believe that right now, when we measured it out, if I charge up here, I mean, I'm going to catch everything except for the Crabbit and one solo there far in the back. So, I mean, looking extremely good for what I want to be doing here. Plus, you know, I have all those Cage Ragers right in the front. I have those Crabbits I can go after. So if I'm careful with the way that I'm going to go and Grievous things, I can start eating away at that. This is just fantastic. Now, he did put up Fog of War, which won't do too much because I don't have a lot of shooting. But he did put up as well Star-Crossed. So that's going to mean that when I want to hit his stuff, I'm having to roll an extra dice, drop the highest. But a lot of things I'll be going after here are really low defense. So I got to say that after this turn, I was like, oh wow, this is like the perfect thing I could be ever doing, is getting this massive crushing feat and having lots of things that I can be going after. Now, I got so excited, however, that I actually forgot to allocate focus. So that was really not very intelligent. So the Blockader had enough focus to charge in, but not buy extra attacks. And I kind of looked over, I was like, so are you going to let me allocate? And he's like, come on, buddy, you're in this dream situation. You can go and cram it. You'll have to deal with your semi-oppressive feat instead. So, okay, I didn't allocate any focus. And so instead, what I did here is I went up there with my Malvin and Mayhem. It charged in there into the first of the Cage Ragers. The Rattler actually had the Animus up, so I got the counter charge in. Actually rolled pretty good, got some okay damage on me, but I was able to get in there and get some okay damage, like I said, onto the Cage Rager. Then I was able to jump in there with my one Stalker, getting the Grievous on both the Cage Ragers, just to make sure everything is safe. And then I went in there with the Blockader and was able to finish off the one Cage Rager, getting some extra damage on the one I could only see there on the right. Again, if I didn't Grievous, that first charge attack damage would have been ignored. And then I was able to go in with Asphyxious, going into the one Cage Rager. Now, normally this would be too dangerous of a play because Gaspy being way up there is probably going to die. However, the target I'm going up against doesn't have reach, so I don't need to worry about that. The Crabbits that are touching me, I'm not overly worried about. So yeah, Gaspy was able to get in there, do some more damage, but I did leave the Cage Rager alive. So that was sad. I mean, all things really, I mean, if I would have allocated, that Cage Rager would have died. I could have started killing some Crabbits, but hey, if I complain too much here, I mean, Garnett might find me and kick my ass because I deserve it. I have to be really happy with what's going on here. Everything's locked down. The Toro is over there to really look like, oh, I'm here to go after your Clockatrice, but really what it's doing over there is just being in a spot so I can have it to kill his solo, and then on the next turn, Anastasia can come in and be able to go after him. Also, Widget is on my flag, and I don't think there's any way that he'll be able to kill it. Acosta is there to be going after the objective, and then J.A.I.M.s, because I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be losing my Stalker, is there to be applying Grievous. I would have been even nicer if I could have had something else staying inside my left zone, but I really felt I need the Toro up there just to really sell things and make sure I can get done what I need to. So on his turn, he is pretty stuck. I mean, the Crabbits hop over, do their best to try and deal with Gaspy, but again, defense 16 because of Bullet Dodger means it's really hard to deal with. So I believe one of them did some okay dice damage, and so after reduction, I took a few points, so that was something. He was also able to come over here and kill off my J.A.I.M.s model, so that's something I totally did not see happening, so that was unfortunate. He also gets his little solo there into the right zone, so it would be harder for me to score if that's something I wanted to go for. Otherwise, because with my feet I said he couldn't go towards the bottom board edge and the right one, it did mean that his Gremlin Swarm could run all the way to the left. However, it still was not able to get within range of the flag, so really the only things that are there contesting it are going to be just the actual Glimmer Imp, the one that looks like the Trapperkin. When he actually moved it over there, I didn't measure. I might have had like a free counter charge charge into it. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good here. I shouldn't be complaining. He gets more things into the zone, so that's going to be harder to score that. But really, I just score my flag, and I just need to get 4 points. One of them will be the flag again. Magnus into the zone. I should be able to kill off the Glimmer Imp and Anastasia taking the left flag, and then I have my Acosta that by itself should be able to destroy the objective. That will get the 4th, and worst case scenario, maybe I can try and force my Blockader into the right zone and score it that way. But it wasn't needed. My Toro was able to do the work. Everything went the way that I thought, and so I win this one on scenario as a pretty fast game. So looking at this one here, I did feel kind of bad. I mean, this is pretty much exactly what Magnus wanted to see. You know, one of the things that was probably the worst is that my group had a bit of a conversation about how negative of a play experience is Magnus. Is Magnus too powerful? Does Magnus need to be nerfed? And I mean, I'm coming from a spot where I played it way back in Mark II, where it was almost exactly the same, and everyone thought it was garbage. You know, like, oh, that Magnus, like, it just has the crappy Denegra feat, right? So compared to what things were before, Magnus is really fine, but I mean, wow, if you find yourself in these positions like this, where you can feat on an entire combat army and just lock it down, and especially on a very live scenario like this, it's almost a free win, right? I mean, Garnett, my opponent, is just an extremely good player. However, he's playing a list that needs to stay together against an opponent's caster that wants to feed on things that are all together, and yet at the same time on a scenario that wants you to spread out. So I think in this case here, it was just a really great matchup for me. I got really lucky in just the way that this all went in the scenario and the caster pairing. And you know what? I don't know if Magnus does need to be nerfed. I want to see your opinions on it down below. I think he's still okay, but it is a very, very strong control feat in a world where, at least in the beginning of Mark III, clearly Privateer Press went to get rid of all these control feats, but then again, they also ramped up the power after that, so I don't know. Maybe Magnus is where they want things to be now. You certainly, other than this, where I just went through and 3-0'd this tournament, you don't normally see Magnuses crushing things anymore. But otherwise, getting to that last little summary, I did end this game being undefeated, 3-0. There were 16 players, but because of the requirements, or the limitations rather, of the store, we only had time for 3 games. So hey, it's a first Steamroller. It's okay to have a relaxed 3-game tournament. However, there was the one other person that went undefeated, an Infernal player with Omo and Lucas, and we're going to be playing our unofficial last game on Thursday. So look ahead to that. I mean, I still took home a trophy, which is kind of greasy because, you know, like, here I am winning a trophy from my own tournament. However, here's an interesting, funny thing about these trophies is that they were designed to be functional. Both of them here, there's one with a Tormentor, one with the Blight Archon. They're actually set up with magnets. You can take them off and play with them. And so the other undefeated player felt that they got kind of like the final jab at me anyway, because they took the Blight Archon, giving me the Tormentor, knowing that I've been extremely tempted to start Infernal. So like I said, he's an Infernal player. He would have loved taking that Tormentor, but he gave it to me. It's just like that dark little seduction trying to bring me over to the dark side. And I gotta be honest, it's really, really tempting. So we'll see what happens. Probably, I'm not gonna, no promises. We're going to see what happens, but there could be a demonic 2022. Let's just say that. All right, so that all said, thanks for watching. This is the end of the 3-game series from the Steamroller. I would love to hear your thoughts on my list, my opponent's list, you know, anything going through the entire event. Doesn't have to be just this game. But yeah, there you go. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye.